camera's doing something crazy today, y'all. I think there we go. We're gonna go with that. All right. Welcome. I am late. Apologies. I'm here now though. So I am Dr. Latoya Davis, and this is Soul Wisdom Chat. Or Ask Me Anything. So I come on every first and third Wednesday to basically hold space to answer questions that any of you may have, really to do with anything spiritual. My areas of expertise or interest are Akashic Records, universal principles and laws, things that really deal with metaphysics, self-empowerment, ancestral veneration. So those are kind of typically the areas where I get questions, but I'm always free and excited to get really any type of question. So I'm going to be short tonight. Normally I'm on for an hour, right? But tonight I am going to be short because I need to finish my daughter's hair. So I did have two questions that were pre-submitted. So I'm going to start with those two questions. I'm sorry. If you're new to my channel, please go ahead and hit the like button or subscribe button. I really focus on helping women to release past programming, conditioning, societal expectations so that you're able to stand fully in your power, be able to tap into, trust, and hear the divinity and the guidance that is within you, right? I lead from this place of we are all divine beings kind of co-creating here in this reality. And sometimes just along our path in life, we've gotten, either we've had experiences or we've bought into things that have detached us a little bit from ourselves, or we've had experiences that don't allow us to really show up as fully and great as we are. And so my goal is really to help you be able to kind of undo that so that you can lead a life of joy, ease, and abundance. So I'm going to start with my first question. When you're here, let me know you're here, so you can drop it in the chat. I would love to know who is on with me tonight. Let me pull up the first question. So the first question is about sleeping. Being able to remember dreams while you sleep. So the person said that they don't typically remember their dreams when they sleep. And, over the time have set intentions sometimes to kind of remember that dream once they go to sleep, but it's still really having a difficult time in remembering their dreams. And so wanting to know what are some ways, things, or tactics to help bring that memory to dreams once you wake. So my first answer, or where I am going to lead, is with setting intentions, right? When we talk to ourselves before we go to sleep, that is the energy that we set before we go to sleep carries us over into our dream state, right? So the mind is very open to suggestion at that time. And so saying things, so not even just about dreaming in general, right? Things that you want to kind of allow to ruminate, so to speak, right? As you're sleeping, as that body is winding down, as the consciousness is moving through the various levels of kind of alertness to complete detachment and returning to source, you want to be able to give the mind's eye something to hold on to that you actually want, right? As opposed to kind of the random counting down of what happened in the day and the stress and all of those things. So setting your intention before going to bed. And I mean, like, I'm laying down in bed, I'm really ready to go to sleep, and now I'm going to set an intention. Now, setting an intention is a layered concept because sometimes we set an intention and we're like, oh, but that didn't work, right? What was the intention? How was the intention set? What was the energy around that intention, right? Did you believe the intention when you set the intention? So a lot of things go into intention setting that we also don't think about. So what do I mean by that? Let's say my intention is to remember my dream when I wake up, right? That's what I would like to happen. I want that to happen. But let's say I said, I'm not going to forget my dreams, right? I'm going to have wonderful dreams, and when I wake up, I will be able to recall them. Um, that's actually a good one. But let's say you put it in the negative, right? So we want to make sure that we're always putting something in the positive, the aspect that we want it. We're doing it right before bed, okay? And then belief. So do you believe that, right? So is it, um, you know, I'm going to set this intention, but I don't know because it hasn't happened before. So do you actually believe that that thing is going to happen? So now let's assume that all of those things have taken place, right? You said it right before bed. You set your clear intention, and you have belief that that intention is going to hold true and carry you through the night. Now, these are some other things that I suggest. I don't know, people, you all have caught me on various points in my journey, and depending on what class, I tell a bunch of different stories. But one of the stories that I often tell is about when I used to have problems dreaming. Well, I didn't have problems dreaming. I dreamt. The problem was the dreams were very real. So somehow when I was, although at this time I didn't understand this language, but somehow when I was sleeping, um, when we sleep, essentially our soul kind of leaves our body, right? And so the soul is free to experience life in different dimensions and realms and all of that stuff during our sleep state. And we should fall deep enough into sleep so that that is able to happen, right? When we are going through the sleep cycle, the the body or the person actually goes through, I'm going to use this from a dimensional standpoint. We actually transition from third dimension, which is our physical, the things that we do, right? So here, the touch, I lay down, I know that I'm aware of that, to fourth dimension. So now the body is letting go of the day, essentially, right? And now we're in the thought phase. So this is like when you're in bed and you have like thoughts that are running through your mind, but you're not consciously thinking of them, right? So it's like the body is now moving kind of through that fourth dimension, which is thought. And then we finally reach that fifth dimension, which is where we've kind of returned to, or the soul has kind of reached up to, I like to say, replenish itself or connect itself back to source. And in this process, that's where the soul is free to kind of journey and move about and experience different things. So for me, I was not actually ever reaching that complete state. And so when I was going to sleep, my body was experiencing all of the things that was happening to me while I was sleeping, right? So I would wake up in the morning with scratches. I would wake up and it was like somebody punched me in my stomach, like I would have pain, I would have bruises. So like that's what was happening to me in my sleep. And it got really, really bad. So I'm bringing us back to the point of kind of the next set of stuff, right? So I found this prayer that I would say before I went to bed, right? Every night I said this prayer before I went to bed because I knew that a change needed to happen because I couldn't take it, right? I couldn't take the randomness, the not really sleeping, and I needed something to change. So I found this prayer that basically talks about sleeping well through the night. It was the Allan Kardec prayer, if you're familiar with the little yellow book of prayers that he has. So it was one of those. I would say it all the time. And I say this to say it didn't, the first night that I said it, right? It didn't stop. Maybe not even the second night. I could have been a weekend and, it probably still hadn't shifted. But I was committed to that particular energy, that particular intention, that particular prayer. And then it shifted, right? So, and then now I don't have that experience at all. Right. So I say that to say sometimes once we have kind of created this energetic frequency or energetic patterning, simply doing something once or twice or three times, or doing it a little bit over here, doing it a little bit over here, doing a little bit over here, is not enough to actually switch the cycle. Right. They say that it takes 21 days for a new habit or a new frequency to kind of set in. And that at minimum, right? 21 days, depending on, there are a lot of different variations in that, but we're going to go with the standard 21 days for something new to set in. So my suggestion would be that you continue to set your intention, right? That you make sure that you say the intention in the positive, and that you do it consistently for at least 21 days. Okay. So every night before you go to bed for 21 days, I want you to set a very clear intention that when upon my waking, I will remember everything that I need to know from my dream state. Then the second part of this is immediately when you wake up, try to recall what your dream was. So have a notebook, or I've really gotten into voice memos now. Have a notebook where you can journal it out immediately, or have your phone so you can do a voice memo and just download it. Like whatever, even if it doesn't seem big or relevant, still put it down in that journal or in that voice memo, right? And then what you can have happen as you move through the day, you can set another intention for those aspects again of the dream that are important for you to know, that those aspects of the day continue to reveal themselves to you throughout the day. So what happens for me sometimes is I'll wake up and I'll because what well part of it for me is the dream is so real that I sometimes don't realize that it's a dream. So when I wake up, my mind isn't even like, oh wait, that was a dream, right? It's like, oh, this thing happened, because really it did, just in a different dimension or different reality. Um, and so what will happen is as I'm moving throughout my day, someone will say something, or I'll see something, or something will happen that will trigger that particular dream. And then I'm able to kind of bring it back into my focus, right? So when you wake up, immediately when you wake up, because that's when we're able to retain the information the most. They really say that like after the first few minutes after waking, we've kind of disconnected ourselves from that dream state, and I'm going to tell you why in a second. But after you wake up, journal, or do your voice memo, and then as you move throughout your day, set the intention to continue to receive information that is necessary for you to, as it relates to that dream. So um, the reason only remember we only remember in that short window once we wake up. So remember I said when we go to sleep, our body kind of goes through these different states, right? And so we go up, we reach the pinnacle, so to speak, right? Soul is out there having this experiences, meeting this person, talking to this person, connecting with this soul, doing our cleaning, our rejuvenation, all of that stuff, whatever it's doing, right? And now it's time for you to wake up. So the soul, so there's like an impulse. The body is like, oh wait, okay, gotta wake up, right? So now the descent has to happen. Okay. So as the descent is happening, the physical body or the mind is aware already that you're about to wake up, even though the soul hasn't necessarily made it all the way back to full integration, right? So that moment of or the gap, I guess, the gap in that between that full integration and you between full integration and when you wake up, you have the best memory because your conscious mind is like, wait, it's grabbing it, right? But once that soul comes back and there's that full integration, and now it's like, all right, and now it's like the program to start the day has commenced, right? So that sever between that really strong spiritual connection that you had in sleep state, right? Once that full integration has happened, then that connection is kind of severed, and now you're back into your general, everyday waking state. That's for most people, right? Some people maintain a very high spiritual connection throughout the day, or that's just kind of how they're oriented. But the majority of people, that's what happens, right? Is we remember it in that short moment because there's the gap, right? So sometimes another way to kind of look at this or think about this is sometimes when you wake up, right? Let's say, you were sleeping and you wake, but you're not quite ready. Like you, if even if you wanted to move, you couldn't quite move yet, right? It's like, dang, okay, my eyes are open. I know I'm here, but I don't really feel like I can move my body. Right. And that's again because that full integration hasn't occurred yet. That descent hasn't occurred. So the mind gets the impulse before the full descent comes together. Greetings, Camila. So that was one question. All right. Next question is I pulled it up, but hold on one second. Oh, and if anybody has a question, feel free to drop it in the chat. I said I'm not going to be on for an hour tonight because I need to finish my daughter's hair, but I will answer any questions that you all have. Okay, for some reason, her question isn't coming up. Let me see if I can remember it. That sucks. I know I can't remember it. I don't even know why I'm playing with myself like that. It's not coming up. I'm in all inboxes. Let me try. Sorry, y'all. Let me try sent. Because I promised. And I think I had even told her in the last one that I was going to get to it and I didn't get to it. And so I was determined. It didn't even come up that way. I was determined to get to it this particular one. But I guess that is a private answer that she needs, and I am going to have to just send her a private message because 2 times in a row, right, when I tried to answer it publicly, I have not been able. So I'm going to take that as a sign. So question is, why does it feel like I'm not even sleeping? Like I'm going from one day job to another. So if you caught me slightly earlier, I talked about how I used to have that same thing, right? I didn't, although my eyes were closed, right? I was laying down. So to the outside person, it seemed like I was sleeping. Um, Everything within my body said that I wasn't. Two things in the Akashic Records. So when we're looking at things that are called the Akashic Records, I can actually determine um, how someone's sleep cycle is, right? I can determine if if at soul level, if you are having what I call transition issues between the third and the fourth. So again, that's disconnecting the physical body from the mind, or if you're having problems going from the fourth to the fifth, that's your mind. You've disconnected the physical body, but now you can't shut off the mind to be able to get back up to the point where you are able to reconnect and recharge. So based on your question, that would say to me that you're having issues going from that fourth to fifth state, right? Which means essentially that the mind doesn't ever really stop. And so you never go back to, during our sleep state is where we're really supposed to get that recharge, right? Is where we are supposed to return to the soul returns to source and get all of the things that we need essentially to be ready the next day, right? But if we're having issues where we're not able to go from that one level to the next level, then that doesn't ever really happen, right? And so all of the kind of conscious thoughts that we're having during the night continue to run through the mind, right? Our experiences, and even though the soul is like, well, wait, I'm still going to go and do this thing. What happens is because there hasn't been that full kind of sever between that mental space and then moving to that next dimension, which is the full spiritual space. Because there hasn't been that full sever, the mind is going, right? So you're not able to just experience that deep sleep state. So a few things can happen. Um, and then let me just, and then the other, so you can have difficulties from third to fourth, which is body to mind. fourth to fifth, which is mind to spiritual state, or you can have problems coming back down, which would be fifth to third. Okay. Most people who have problems coming back down from fifth to third are people who wake up with some type of what I would call like a sleep paralysis. When I was growing up, we would say like, and I really don't know where this term comes from again, now that I think about it, right? We would call it like the devil's on your back, or something was riding your back. So it's this idea that you would be awake, like you're fully awake, but again, you can't move, right? I mentioned those people who wake up and you're like, wait, I can't move my arms. What's happening? Because it takes a minute for that descent to come back down. So those are people who have problem with the descent. So if you are having problems kind of disconnecting or not feeling like sleep is sleep, I'm not a medical doctor. Let's throw that out there. I'm not a medical doctor, right? I will offer things that have worked for myself or for other people. So there are definitely herbs that you can take or herbal supplements that you can take before going to bed to kind of help calm the mind, to put the body in a rest state, to allow the parasympathetic system to rest, right? Because what's happening is essentially from a physical standpoint, your parasympathetic system is continuing to do that. So you want to try to get it into a state of rest, right? Basic, easy ones, lavender, that type of thing. Ashwagandha. I use ashwagandha myself because I be doing the most all the time. And so sometimes I just need to, right, help with that. I love essential oils. So lavender, blue chamomile, um, tansy are ones that I absolutely love, as far as really kind of relaxing the mind and bringing the mind down. And we all know that I love a good frequency, right? So if you go to YouTube, you can find frequencies. You can put like deep sleep, deep sleep music or deep sleep frequency, and just let that play. Now, I will say with some of the music that's on YouTube, do listen to it like a little bit before, instead of like just putting it on and letting it play. And then you can also, as you start to find ones, you'll find ones that kind of resonate with you a little bit more. There are a few companies, I guess, or YouTube channels. There are a few YouTube channels that I pretty much like, right? I know that their music is kind of what it says. There's nothing subliminally hidden in there or anything like that. But I offer that everybody will have different things that they resonate with. So I play frequencies for my daughters. I have two daughters. I play frequencies for them, particularly when they're sick, to help with healing or rejuvenation or things like that. And then sometimes one of my daughters can sometimes have problems falling asleep. Once she gets to sleep, she's good. But what's interesting is one of them absolutely cannot sleep if within that kind of music there becomes like some type of low droning sound, right? Absolutely. So I have to listen like a little bit through to make sure that that doesn't come up, because any music that's like that I played, it took me a minute to figure out what it was, but she will instantly wake up. Like it disturbs her like nobody's business. She will instantly wake up. The other one will sleep through it just fine. Whereas on the reverse, the other one cannot stand like what we would call white noise. So like that ocean sound or rain sound, things that's just like this shh, things like that, can't do it. So I say I love the frequencies out. Now we'll talk about why they work a little bit in a second. But love the frequencies, but test them out, right? See what works for you. But do deep sleep. That's the one you want to look for. Deep sleep frequency. Okay. It will knock you out. So why do frequencies work? Nobody asked me this, but I'm going to tell you. Why do frequencies work? So we are all energy, right? And we know that everything is energy. And what's energy? Energy basically is just something that's operating at a particular, or it's giving off a particular vibration, right? Everything is vibrating or resonating in a particular way. And that thing is the frequency, right? And what happens when we are, and this is even with people, right? So even if you are, you hear people talk about, oh, low vibe. What was that thing with the low vibrational plate? Anyway, but you have people who are like, you hang around them and like you just drop down. You have people who come into a room and everybody's energy rises up to meet them, right? So this is what's happening, is we're responding to their frequency. And the idea around frequencies is that when a lower vibration meets, or when the lower frequency meets a higher frequency, essentially the lower frequency will lose out, right? So the body will succumb, or the things and the energies that are around will succumb to the higher frequency. So particularly while you're in sleep state, because we are suggestive, right? Our subconscious mind isn't fighting for dominance, right? The conscious mind is at rest. So we are in our most receptive state. So the body will acclimate to that particular frequency. And the frequencies that are listed through the YouTube channel, or wherever you are looking at frequencies or listening to frequencies, right? Each frequency resonates with our body in a particular way. So that's why those frequencies work. But like I said, everyone kind of mixes them differently and layers in different sounds and stuff. So then you just have to find what works well for you. All right. Um, so before I get off tonight, just want to talk about a few things. I have another round of Akashic Records beginners classes coming up the end of February, the last Saturday and Sunday in February. It is a virtual class, 2 days. It's for beginners. We learn all things Akashic Records. And in that class, we go into your records and you learn to go into someone else's records. We get practice and you get an attunement to help your time in the records a lot easier. On that Sunday of the last weekend in February, there's also an advanced class, right? So you can do the beginners and then go right into the advanced, or if you've done beginners before and you're interested in the advanced class, go ahead and register for that. And that website is, you have to put the www, but it's www.learnakashic.com/virtual class. That's one thing. Second thing is, if you haven't heard, we are going to Costa Rica, and I am so, 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 so excited, right? It's one of those things. It's like when I plan something or I say I'm going to have something, it's like, wait, do people want it? Are they going to come? People want it and they're coming. So if you are interested in joining me in Costa Rica, that trip is July 29th through August 3rd. The deposit is $400, and I have 5, 4, 3, and 2 month payment plans. Yes. During the retreat, we will be doing sound bath healing. So you heard me talking about frequencies. So I am a certified sound healing practitioner, right? So you those people with like the big crystal singing bowls, or the Tibetan brass bowls, different musical instruments. So I am a certified sound energy healer. I absolutely believe in the power of sound, being able to shift things and release things and kind of help us get things out of the body to help reset energetic systems. So the retreat will include group sound bath healings. I'm also a Reiki master. There'll be Reiki, group Reiki classes. And ultimately, the goal is for you to be able to connect with the highest aspect and version of yourself, right? So we can remove all of the clutter, remove all of the noise, and take dedicated time to focus on what things the soul is trying to get you to understand in this phase of your life, right? What things are important for you to move forward so that you can lead that life of joy, ease, and abundance. So we will be doing guided journeys, healing and clearing sessions, conversation. And it's really just a way to be in space or community with like-minded women, right? We're going to visit the hot springs in Costa Rica and the waterfalls in Costa Rica. You'll also get a massage service there. So there's a lot, right? The retreat is all inclusive. So your housing, your food, airport transfers, all of it. And I'm just really, really excited. So that website is www.learnakashic.com/retreat. All right. And then the last thing is at the end of the month, January 29th, I am starting, I see you, Talia. January 29th, I am starting a Empowered You coaching group. It's a small group coaching platform where, again, we kind of focus in on you, right? It's about learning and understanding how to connect to your higher self, learning tools and best practices to really get you to kind of, I could say, disconnect a little bit from the matrix, right? And to stand in your sovereign power, right? To reclaim your power to be able to show up authentically wherever, however you are, whenever you like, right? So that group starts January 29th. So Talia asked, any advice on remembering former lives? So I guess it's a two-parter, right? Why do we want to remember the former life? Right. That's part one. Um, so I guess really that's the question. But moving past that, the Akashic records are really the way that we are able to access past life information. But the reality is we only get the information that we need, right? So let's say in the former life, I was a Dallas Cowgirl cheerleader. Did that fix? I don't know. Probably not. We're going to go with it. I don't even watch football, y'all, so I don't know why that popped up. But let's say in the former life, I was a Dallas cowgirl cheerleader, right? And in this life, those skill sets, those um, activities, those memories, those all of it bears absolutely no relevance on the goals, the trajectory, the mission, the purpose, nothing that I've set out for myself in this particular lifetime, right? There are no people I'm meeting from that Dallas Cowgirl life, nothing. The reality is, if I went into, like, say, my Akashic record, that lifetime wouldn't even come up, right? Because it bears no relevance on what's happening now. I always say that the question dictates the answer, right? And so when we're asking questions, it's really about, why do I need the information? Because sometimes we don't get an answer to something because the answer doesn't have relevance. So let's say it does, though. Let's say, um, typically a question that I ask when I am looking for past life things is, um, what past life situation can help me in blah, 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 blah? What past life situation is impacting how I am moving through this particular challenge, blah, 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 right? Is there a past life where Bill and I were, where I knew Bill, or where Bill and I were connected, right? So as opposed to the generic kind of remembering past lives, it's what past life is relevant for me right now, because that's really all we need to know, right? God knows how many lives we've had. And so if we kind of go down the rabbit hole of all of them, it's just information overload and unnecessary. So really, goal, we need past life information to help us live life better now. And if the information isn't going to help us live life better now, and that's either through healing past relationships, understanding something about patterns that we're repeating, um, understanding skills that are kind of innate, or traits that are kind of innate or that are there in us, right? Those are ways that we can absolutely use past life information and apply it to our lifetime now. Outside of that, I don't know why we necessarily need to explore the past life. So the question, though, was, how do we get help remember it? And like I said, my number one go-to for past life is the Akashic records. And so when you're in the Akashic records, you are lucid and aware. It's not a dream state. It is a very much, you're present and aware. So there is no challenge in remembering it, right? Once you're in the records, you ask the question, you set the intention, you can journal it, you can write it, you can visualize it, you can doodle it, whatever that is and however that works for you. So remembering who you are isn't necessarily about, it isn't even necessarily remembering about past lives, right? Remember, y'all, I always say I'm gonna be short and then I don't do it. Here we are. But my child can't go to school looking crazy tomorrow. So I promise I'm gonna be done soon. Um, Remembering who you are isn't even about remembering your past life, right? Um, Remembering, I just had a something popped in my head. Yeah. So remembering who you are can simply be. So remember, I talk about a lot that when we show up in the world, right, as our adult self is the culmination of all of these things that we picked up along our path and our route, right? It's all the trauma from childhood. It's all of the you can't do, you should do. It's all of the, when I went to school they taught me to stand in line, I wanted to color outside the box, I got in trouble for coloring outside the box, so I learned to conform, right? Who you are as an adult is based on who you learned to be, right? And who most of us learn to be is a departure from who we actually are, which is why I really am into this idea of removing the conditioning, removing the the shoulda, woulda, couldas, right? Removing all of that stuff so that you can get back to kind of the true nature of understanding who you are at soul level, which isn't about past life at all. It's about, what did my soul choose, what experiences did my soul choose to have in this lifetime, right? What path did I choose to walk? What purpose, what mission, what things did I choose to do? What energies did I choose to carry in this lifetime? And how have I not done that because of other things I've taken on? And now, how do I remove that so that I can stand up fully in that authority? Right? So that I can stand up fully in that power of who I am. So when I talk about showing up authentically, that's what I'm talking about. It is a remembering of who you are, but it doesn't have anything to do with those things in the past, right? It may, most times it doesn't, right? It's very much this lifetime, present tense. The choices that my soul made before I incarnated into this reality that I've allowed to be pushed to the back. And so now I don't stand in that, right? And so it's about doing that work to let go of all of that to find out who you are. All right. You were so very welcome, Talia. Um, what are signs that demonstrate that there are challenges going from fourth to fifth dimensions when in the Akashic Records? I asked the question. So if I'm doing a reading for someone, and unfortunately, y'all, there's an actual term that it's called, and because I haven't done that particular reading for someone in so long, the term isn't coming to my mind right now. But you can ask it just that way. Right? We don't need fancy terms, you can ask it just that way. um but essentially, when I'm doing an Akashic record for someone, if I'm doing what I call a soul blueprint reading, or I'm doing a blueprint reading for someone, I have very particular markers or things that I check, um, to make sure that the soul is intact, there's no leaking, all of these different things that I'm looking for. And so that kind of sleep state is one of the things that falls into that reading for me. I promise it's been like, I don't even know. Um, but there's a particular term. But like I said, essentially, if you're in your Akashic records, you can simply ask the question. Um, am I completing the transition between fourth and fifth state? Between the fourth and fifth dimension. Okay. Um, am I completing the transition between third and fourth? Am I completing the transition from fifth dimension back down? God, it's when they say if you don't use it, you lose it, right? Um, I don't have the term, but I got the skills. So that, but you can, like I said, you can ask it just that way, and you'll be able to get the answer. All right. Or if you're not a person who, let's say you're a person that is visual in the records, right? The way that I do things when I'm looking for numbers, or when I'm looking, I need particular markers, I kind of visualize whatever the numbers are that I need them to be. Right. So I hold that framework in my mind's eye. So in this case, so I would see 3, 4, and 5. Right. And then I would ask the question, um, based on seeing those numbers 3, 4, and 5, I would ask the question, to be shown how the soul transitions through sleep state, right? And so if I saw a smooth transition from 3 to 5, and then I saw a smooth transition from 5 back down to 3, I know that there are no problems. If I saw a smooth transition from 3 to 4, so I get stuck at 4, maybe I'll see some type of distortion, right? Or I'll see something that draws my attention kind of between that fourth and fifth gap. Then I'll also know that there's an energy there, right? So I use two primary methods when I am doing things that have to do with, like I said, numbers or stuff like that. I either visualize the numbers, how I need them to be, and then look for disturbances or look for something that catches my eye there, or I kind of have something move and then stop where I need to have my attention, or I ask the question directly and I can get the information that way. So either of those works for you, Lisa, to be able to get that information. All right. So thank y'all so much for joining me tonight. Please, please, please like the video. I am trying to, get up in my ratings. So please like the video, subscribe if you haven't subscribed, and share. I will see you all. Is this the third? This is the third Wednesday. So I will see you the first Wednesday in February. Have a great night.